Vanya, and this is my colleague Dakota. And this year, we had the opportunity to attend the Slack Frontiers 2021 once again. And we wanted to make a quick video about the takeaways and the releases in this conference. So Dakota, how was the experience?
Thanks, Vanya. It was great. I think we're excited every year. As you know well, Harmonize, we make business tools for Slack. And so we've tied our wagon to Slack, and we're always excited about new releases, what's happening with the command line interface. Our developers want to know, and how can we work new releases into our own tools. But also internally, you also know we're 100% remote, and we are using Slack absolutely constantly during the day. And so knowing the new ways, the new fun we're going to have, and just kind of how it's going to change our day-to-day, I think it's exciting for us to find out.
Yeah. So this year I noticed that Slack Frontiers had a different interface as far as the conference experience was concerned. They had the whole playlist system. So how was it?
Personally, I liked it. Basically, they were just, segmenting their material to target, to keep the context around teams. So are you in sales? Are you in marketing? Are you in design, etc. Ultimately, I think the content, the takeaways, talking points were pretty similar across, which I think is nice because otherwise there's no way you could have attended all the events. I think it was helpful to, keep it in context for those things you were most interested in.
So Slack Frontiers was a 2-day affair. What exactly do you think were the major takeaways for them?
So there's a lot to talk about, and I think they kind of did a good job spreading it out, but also repeating for those who couldn't make the 2 days. But for me, I think they came really wanting to talk about, get people into workflows, also for new releases, wanted to talk about Huddles, Slack Connect, Slack Atlas, and basically any session. This isn't new at all, but you're going to hear about channels, how to use them, and why they're so great.
Sounds good. One of the features I'm really excited about actually is something we've been using a while, but workflows. What about that? Let's get into that.
So workflows have been around for a bit, and I don't think there's really anything new other than, constant UI changes, but Slack really wanted to come and remind people that they're there and remind people that they've been becoming easier and easier to use. So they really focus on kind of their no code, so easy a VP could do it. Really just giving a lot of examples. I know internally we use it for stand-ups, reminders, things like that, but you can get pretty deep and it's not that hard. And they just wanted to remind their customer base that that's possible.
Sounds interesting. So what about the new releases this year?
Sure. So there was 3 biggies. I think anyone on Slack is familiar with Huddles. Those are pretty self-explanatory, but Slack wanted to remind people, kind of get the creative juices flowing for how they're used, what best practices are. I know I still want to use them more, but they're fantastic for quick, 20-second explainers. I know I personally always default to kind of writing out messages, but turns out that just turning on your video for 20 seconds is a lot easier, a lot faster, and more clear. Kind of next up, another big one they're really excited about is Slack Connect. So that one actually, internally, we haven't implemented it yet, but Slack Connect is just a way to connect with other Slack workspaces outside of your own. In my opinion, genius way to add virality to Slack, because you don't even need to be, in a workplace or enterprise, whatever it is. But I think, again, similarly, Slack was pushing kind of some helpful use cases and best practices. So they talked a lot about managing customer success, customer support through Slack Connect, that direct line being far superior to email in trust, in kind of transparency. They also talked about it with vendors or partners. I think there's a lot of ways anyone you're working with in emailing, if it's kind of in regular day-to-day relationship, Slack Connect is just a more effective channel. And then kind of their last big release that is not fully widely released was Slack Atlas, which is we'll call it a souped up version of a Slack profile, but it's almost its own product. So it takes your Slack profile, kind of who you are, adds in layers about where you are in the organization. So you can actually, you have a full org chart available straight from your Slack workspace that you can kind of explore, look at direct reports, etc. But then also adds really useful kind of like working context for those you may not be familiar with. So you don't just have kind of like, this is the person, this is their team, but you also might see what projects they're working with, who they're working with specifically outside of their team, might include their hobbies, might include their skill sets for resourcing, all of that stuff in just kind of like a easy interface directly connected to your profile. Today, it's only released for enterprises in the US, but they're rolling it forward quickly and looking forward to try it myself soon.
Although I didn't get to attend Slack Frontiers this year, and I'm really hoping to attend it next year, all of these releases actually make a great point. So how do you think our company is going to make changes in the products or any of the stuff that we're offering within the Slack ecosystem?
Yeah, I think these things don't have a huge immediate impact for us. Fortunately, we don't build, organizational trees, and we don't, create simple workflows in Slack. So I think if that was our business, we might be a little worried. But really, if you think of what we have, like attendance bot is kind of time, availability, attendance in Slack. Office Amp is ticketing, Expensitron, expensing. I think all of those things win and rely on teams using Slack and making Slack their kind of like base of operations. And the more time you spend there with less context switching, I think it just makes it easier to create value by adding other processes, adding other business processes on top of Slack. But I think all of that is to say that even as we kind of make it easier to manage teams in Slack, sometimes it feels like Slack is doing more to help us create our value prop than we even are, which isn't fully true. But I think it's just a really exciting time to be using and building for Slack.
Thanks, Dakota, for those takeaways. And thank you everyone for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thanks.